It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast with Stephen Pearlstein.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very special episode of Improv Obsession, Sketch Obsession, with the guest, Charlie Sanders.
Hello.
You might know some of Charlie's sketch credits from Human Giant, Key and Peele, Police Chief Rumble, and Buffoons. Those are all things that you've done.
That's right.
All right. So let's see. Since this is a sketch episode of an improv podcast, I want to talk about sketch and improv. I found a really interesting blog from Police Chief Rumble on the Improv Resource Center about you guys just working on their
Making our show, yeah.
And one of the things that was in there was it seemed like you guys did a good amount of improvising to come up with sketches. And it sounded like sometimes you just start with like a premise maybe or like a game idea and you improvise that scene and then kind of see what comes out of it. Is that the basics of how that worked or?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, it was quite a while ago. You were a teenager when that was happening.
Yes,
but,
I was. It's good times.
I think what we did is we would do our set sketches. So if it was like an hour show or something, the first half hour or so would be our set sketches. And then I think we did like half prov. Like you might have a character idea, but you don't know what that character is going to do yet or something. So I remember one I had was like Lance Cuisine, and he was the heir to the lean cuisine fortune.
Yeah.
And then so I'd just be that character, and then people would like improv situations with that character, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I think at the end we just did like got a suggestion and did 10 minutes of improv. And then maybe there'd be ideas in there we'd write sketches from.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, I've heard people before. Besser was one who said that like he thinks a good improv scene you could put up as a sketch and it'd be good. And I feel like I've almost never seen an improv scene like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I totally agree with that. I mean, I guess maybe that's an ideal to strive for or something, but there's just that improv's got that thing of like the audience knows you're making it up, and no matter how good or bad it is, it's either going to have that's an asterisk next to what's happening. You know what I mean? I think. And so like, it's like we were talking, this will be a different episode from
totally different from what we just did. Oh yeah, guys,
so
if you want to hear.
No sense when I reference back to.
If you guys want to hear Charlie and I talk about improv, go listen to the Improv Session episode with Charlie Sanders.
If you want to understand the things I'll be referencing, this is the same conversation. But we push stop and record.
No, do it.
I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about improv. Perfect improvising is a good sketch.
I don't know. I just think it's like we were talking about trying to describe an improv scene to someone. Yeah. I've seen improv scenes that made me laugh the hardest I've ever laughed in my life, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't think if those were written and performed again, they would do that for me.
Right.
There's something about the magic of that moment.
I super agree with that. Because, when he said that.
I think it's two different things.
Yeah, I was talking to Besser, and I felt weird, like, going, like, I don't know, man, because there is something about improv that, like, the funniest moments are sometimes the things that surprise you, or even, like, you can get huge laughs out of just stupid shit, like labeling people, or, like, kind of painting, and, like, people are like, yeah, I get it, yeah, that's what's going on.
I didn't know that
but
was
like,
Alf.
but nobody gives a shit in sketch, especially if you just of those jokes that are, I guess kind of like back justifying or labeling or anything like that. People are like, yeah, man, whatever, do a joke
totally,
now.
because they're not. It's not experiential in the same way. Where it's like, what the audience likes about that in improv is, oh, we all just found out that was Alf this whole time.
Yeah,
we're beginning another terrible curse of an analogy.
Yes.
But in sketch, I don't know. You're just making like a different agreement with the audience if they come to a sketch or improv show. I feel like.
Yeah. I like that.
You're welcome.
So. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, more about the live stuff, and it's been a while, I guess, since Police Chief Rumble and Buffoons, but I'd still like to touch on that a little if we can.
Cool, man.
What, like, you're assembling a show like that, what are, you guys are trying to refine stuff. How does stuff get polished for you personally to get into a show? Like you said, you had some set sketches and you're improvising some stuff. Like what are you guys doing to kind of bring out the 1,000 grit sandpaper in this weird analogy that I'm making? Because I feel like a lot
Bring
of times
out the what?
the 1,000 grit sandpaper is the
What's
very
that?
fine stuff that you do to make it
Oh.
really smooth. That was woodshop 101.
I like
man.
it. That's
It's
good. That's good.
But like sometimes I feel like I'll write stuff and I'll be like, this is a good sketch. It's funny. What do I do now? And I feel like that's a process that I think really kind of makes or breaks a lot of sketch.
Yeah, totally. Well, for me, and I feel like a lot of people would disagree with me, but this has been, in my experience, it's performing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to happen writing it over. I'm talking about doing a live show here. I don't think writing it over and over, you do a couple drafts to try and make it better, but then you have to go perform it and just see what the audience reacts to.
Yeah.
See what you come up with in the moment. And that's going to be the 1,000 grain sandpaper.
1,000 grit. It's okay.
1,000 grit.
Just keep that,
No, I like
that
to
one.
pour grains of sand.
Yeah, there
You
was.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. There was a thing in there that you wrote. It was about everybody pronounced Dartmouth wrong.
Oh yeah.
And you believe that was funny, and I think that's one of those things that's perfect too. But I think you ended up keeping it in the show. Whatever.
Yeah,
the
it stayed in
point.
the
The
show.
point was that you have something that on paper you believe is funny, and that the audience doesn't react to it. It's like, oh no, I learned something.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I can't remember if they would laugh at. That was like a sub game. So the main game of this sketch was that these parents had been divorced for this kid's whole life, but they never told him because they had read a statistic that divorced parents' kids aren't as successful.
Yeah.
He'd gotten into Dartmouth.
Yeah.
As a result. But every time somebody would enter the scene, they'd go, I mean, we did this for you. I mean, you got into Dartmouth. Be like, then the next person would be like, you got into Dartmouth. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just cracked me up that
Yeah.
I could say Dartmouth.
It's
But
Yeah, it's one of those silly things that oh, I really like this. And it
Yeah,
should go
yeah.
in.
But I can't remember if the audience laughed at it or not.
Yeah.
That I said in that
And
journal
in
that
there,
they
in there,
didn't.
you said they're not laughing at it. It's been 20 times they haven't laughed at it. And then you guys took it out, and then somebody sent you a message apparently on the blog saying, "No, I really like it. Keep it
Really?
in." And you
Oh,
kept it
wow. That was nice of them.
in. Yeah, it was very nice of whoever
wonder
that
who
was. I'm sure you're
That
listening.
was my great expectations. That was the criminal I saved. I'm back. Keep that joking.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's one of those things where you can learn a lot from the audience that is different than what's on the paper.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. If you love it, keep it in.
Yeah,
Why not?
I like it.
Who cares? We'll all live.
Who cares? Okay, so actually, I have this thing I've been coming up with lately about sketch that it sounds like the game of that one was that this guy. Well, the game of that one was that
The real sketch.
the truth. Yeah, the
Yes,
one
yes,
that you
yes.
wrote was that his parents were really divorced, and then there was other things that
Turned out his girlfriend had never been his girlfriend.
Right.
She was paid to act as his girlfriend.
right. So there's there's a clearly strong game to that.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you so much.
And that will conclude this. But also in that, I'm sure there's written times of rest. And I think what I've decided, my new decision on what works about game and resting game is in sketch is that when you rest a game, you should still have funny stuff going on. And I think that's where things like dirt mouth really work.
Wait, what do you mean? There's written in? What did you say? There's written in
Rest or little beats off the game. No,
I can't.
100%
Maybe
hitting
I
it.
can't remember.
Well, I mean, how about writing it now?
I
mean,
can't remember.
Yeah.
Sound like
Well,
a-
yeah. So, let's maybe take this on the present day a little bit more. So now, you write for Key and Peele, which is a very, very great show. So maybe that game that is pure.
I get what you're
game.
saying. Okay, so you mean Dartmouth is just a different game. It's like a smaller little game.
Right. It's something. It's to me, it's almost
Yeah.
like a palate cleanser. That it's I need a second away
Dude,
from
your
this.
analogy. You turned on the analogies for the second podcast.
Thanks, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I dig that. I don't know if I intended. I mean, again, we're talking about a sketch I wrote 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I thought about that or not. I think I probably just thought, like, wouldn't it be funny if they can't say Dartmouth right?
Right.
But anyway.
No, that's fair. Well, I mean, how about now? I mean, do you worry about things like, oh, are we hitting this thing too hard? Is it not going to be funny if we hit this beat 20 times in a row? Because actually, now I'm thinking about it, it seems like you guys are pretty consistently attacking game.
What are we talking about? Key and Peele?
Key and Peele, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know of any sketches that you specifically wrote. Do you?
I mean, I could tell you some if you want.
I'm trying to. Maybe we can.
This is my current favorite sketch of my own.
Yeah.
It was in. I think it was in the last episode of the second season, and it was Jordan's an old man that owns a laundromat, and he wishes it was popping like the barbershop across the street. Did you see that one?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay.
That's great.
That's the one I'm like most proud of.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up for some reason. But I would say it was slightly, for anyone out there that saw that, I feel like it was slightly uncharacteristic for Key and Peele in that it was like it meandered a little, and which is kind of like what I like about it. But it was like, definitely there were like strong game beats to it.
Yeah.
But it was just like a little slower pace than the other ones. But I think, Key and Peele as a show, we really like lay a game out and pretty much just hit it.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
Like this, I think this was in the last podcast you referenced this, but the hat scene.
Yeah. That's pure game.
It's just pure game, and the beats come really rapidly. And
the I said bitch one, like that one's pure game.
Pure game, pretty rapid. Even that, I mean, that almost moves a little bit more slowly than a lot of Key and Peele scenes, I feel like.
Yeah. So, in those weird moments of that part of that game is the suspicious looking around thing.
Yeah.
Like that does slow it down.
Yeah, and there's like kind of a couple games going on in there. They're all related to the same thing.
Yeah. They're all on that one. Yeah, that's interesting because now that I think of it, maybe that's not the style. Well, then, so okay, we talked about refining sketches a little bit before. I mean, since you're not putting it necessarily in front of an audience for Key and Peele, how do you guys go about refining sketches for? I mean,
when you do the read through, it's basically like we're the audience.
Yeah. You just take it that way, see what people hit.
See what people laugh at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wondered, I went to a table read for American Dad not too long ago, and I was wondering, like, they're laughing a lot. I'm wondering if people, especially in that environment, are more prone to laugh at their own people's stuff, and maybe we're missing out on the actual feedback that they want.
Yeah, that's possible. I'm sure you're not going to get it totally pure.
Yeah.
It won't be pure. Yeah, I mean, I think you get a pretty good example.
Yeah.
At least at Key and Peele, I feel like people.
People are truthful. That's good. Okay. Do you guys? I read some insane thing like you guys work on like 300 sketches or something crazy like that. And do you guys start with the process of pitching games, or do you start fully written stuff? Where do you guys kind of begin? Pitch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like on a Monday, nice ankle crack there.
Thanks, man. That was very
painful. On Monday, everybody pitches.
Yeah.
I forget. I think the beginning of the season, it's like 5 days a week we're pitching. So every day at like 10 to noonish, everybody pitches an idea or two. Everybody riffs on it. And then you go write it. And then throughout the week and then the months as it goes on, you get notes from Jordan and Keegan and then the showrunners, Jay and Ian. And they give you notes. And then to read through, you do some more notes. And then you do a read through for Comedy Central and you might get some more notes. Did that answer your question?
No, it does, for sure.
Yeah. So we're always writing new stuff, like pretty much up to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we end up writing a lot of sketches.
Quite a busy process. Pitching, I'm not good at pitching. I feel like I'm a decent writer. But like a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is like a funny thing, like where this happens. It won't, if I try to pitch it, it will not go across as well as I just have everybody read it. So how do you try to pitch things? Do you have a strategy or maybe things that you try to hit?
You got to be able to pitch.
Yeah.
I
can't.
It's really important.
Tell me how to do it.
And improv can really help you with it as someone who loves improv.
Yeah.
You know how there's like two types of improv? There's like do a monologue, get a premise, do the scene. And then there's like, we just go out there and see what happens. The former, the do a monologue, get a premise, do a scene, invaluable. Wait, is invaluable good? And I mean, it has no value. I mean, I could trade nothing for it.
Yeah. It's
It's
good.
good. Who are these two idiots?
Seems like a couple of guys who don't know anything about anything.
Are these the two guys that said don't go to college at the end of the last podcast? Yeah, that's them.
That's them.
Idiots.
It showed.
I guess,
Stupid motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been the most valuable skill.
Yeah.
And that improv really, really paid off for me in that. Because when you do a monologue and then you're going to initiate a scene off that monologue, you do that the same process you're going to do for a pitch as you go. He was told the monologue about being a barista in a Starbucks and somebody threw milk in his face. Well, what's the funny part?
Yeah.
It's getting the milk in the face. So my pitch is, again, terrible example, but my pitch is a barista who is so sick of his job, anything anyone orders, he throws in their face.
Right.
You know, so that's where you can like really develop that pitching skill by doing improv. That is a totally valuable part of improv. So how you pitch it is you wanna boil the idea down to like, what's the funny part of it? I mean, I could do this better. Do you have an example you want to do?
No.
If that's helpful, or you want it on your podcast. But...
Okay. Well, I have one that I wrote that is like it's a game show. And the guy one of the contestants on the game show is trying to win enough money to get his kidnapped son back. See, that was
great.
good. That was a good pitch.
That was perfect.
Because we've done that like 10 times.
Oh, okay.
And I know how it works.
You just got to be able to boil that down before you do it 10 times.
Yeah.
You got any others? You got like a vague idea you got floating around that you're not quite sure?
Sure I do. I'm trying to think of something that I worked on just recently. Oh no, I don't know. Whatever. I'll just say I don't
What's
have
something
one right
that you've
now.
like thought about doing a sketch about but haven't?
Okay, I have this one idea that I have not worked on. That's people are trying to get ready for a bank heist, and they're laying out the plans. See, this is how I'm bad at it already. But one guy just keeps on wearing like big, like almost Elton John, CeeLo style sunglasses over his ski mask, and the rest of the crew thinks his flamboyant glasses are going to give away who they are. Because he always wears them.
Yeah, I can see that. There's definitely an idea in there. So
There, I think. I don't know. I haven't written it.
The question hopefully this isn't boring as shit for everyone, but
No, it's okay.
I would ask myself, like, when I have that idea and I go, like, God, I can't quite wrap my head around, like, what exactly it is. Like, how'd you very, very first inkling of an idea, what did it come from?
Yeah, I think to me it was the idea of that big silly character. Basically CeeLo in my mind, trying to live like if that's a normal person, how do you justify wearing
If
weird
CeeLo's a
stuff?
normal person?
If CeeLo's just a regular dude,
I also think it seems a little silly, but I found it helpful is to like really go back to like when the first time that popped into your head, like what was happening. Do you remember by any chance?
I don't.
I think keep track of that, like if you can. I found it really helpful because you want to get to the core of like, what did I find funny about that?
Yeah.
It was basically like, I would ask myself, well, why? I mean, really, it's weird doing this improv podcast and this sketch podcast right next to each other. I feel like the stuff I learned in improv applies more in this world, you know, because I would go to justification. Like, why would the sunglasses give him away? His signature sunglasses?
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, nobody else has that style or that who wears stuff like that in the all of whatever little fictional town this is.
right.
So it's gonna be very clear that it's flamboyant.
You're
Ronnie.
the guy.
It's flamboyant Ronnie who just robbed the bank. It's very clear.
You wear, You know, you're dressed so flamboyantly, everyone's gonna know. You're the flamboyant guy from town.
Yeah.
So So now we kind of, you just do the process with yourself.
Yeah.
And we kind of boil it down to like, some guys are planning a bank robbery, and one of them insists he's a flamboyant dresser when he's not robbing a bank, and he insists on wearing the same style when he robs the bank.
Right. There you go. Kind of boils it down to
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with when you pitch, like setting the scene, like going, okay, these guys are planning a bank robbery. Because when you pitch it, you're kind of telling them what it's going to look like on camera, right? So if you go like, and they're laying the map out, and it's really tense, and there's smoke in the air, that'll get people there. And then we see a guy who's wearing giant sunglasses. Yeah. And he goes, I got to wear my lucky sunglasses. Or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, I dig it. That was super helpful. I'm gonna start attempting to pitch now in the future, because in my current sketch groups, we're none of us are we almost never pitch. It's not a part of our process.
Everybody just brings sketches.
Just brings in sketches, and it's a skill that I know I'm lacking because every now and then again I've had to like, oh, we'll go ahead and pitch some ideas. I'm like, duh. All right, so like, he's like weird, and then there's like not weird people.
Yeah, but improv. I mean, just doing your regular improv shows can help you with that a lot.
Yeah, I like it.
You're welcome.
You're the best, man. I really appreciate it. So let's see. Let's talk about. All right. Yeah, bombing. Sketches that bomb, sketches that don't work. I mean, how do you what do you take from that process? How do you polish it? Like if say something that you liked goes in the table read, goes poorly, but you're like, I think this is funny. What's your next step? Because
well, let me say first at Key and Peele it's the only show I've ever written at, but we're extremely, extremely lucky. It's a really kind environment. I mean, at Key and Peele, I don't know if I kind of think this probably couldn't happen at some other sketch shows. At Key and Peele, if I wrote a sketch, it totally bombs at the table read.
Yeah.
I could go, guys, I believe in this idea. Let me take another shot at it. And they'd go, fine. And they'd give it another chance. So I think at a lot of shows, probably, that'd be it. You wouldn't be able to bring that back. But at Key and Peele, they're cool with it. They're like, they believe you if you go, I think there's something here. Yeah. If it bombed again, you'd probably have to go, okay, I'll let this idea go.
I'm going to let it go. Yeah. Well, that's one of those things that, like, I feel like I've heard the like maybe the Bob Odenkirk and Mr. Show process is very much like refining, and even stuff that doesn't work or just trying to attempt to bring that stuff back from the dead, which isn't always the case. Like, I've heard some shows like, oh, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Put that out back and let's never see it again.
Yeah, exactly. This story maybe applies, but I feel like telling it.
Good.
I was at an airport in Minnesota, and I went up to a Caribou Coffee, which is, I guess, the coffee bean of the Midwest. And there was like two dudes in this little pod at the airport. And it was like a big, fat Dungeons and Dragons nerd guy with like the wispy beard and long hair. And then like a thugged out black dude. And they were the two guys working at the coffee or at the Caribou.
Love it.
And they each had a name tag that goes, my name is so-and-so. And then it says, I use caffeine for, and then they have to insert their own little thing there. So the black dude had like, I use caffeine for work or something. And then the big nerd had, my name is whatever. My name is Frank. I use caffeine for gaming. And anyway, I went up and I ordered my coffee, and I only heard this like little snippet of conversation of the black dude goes, I don't know, man. I heard we're getting a grilled cheese press. And then the Dungeons and Dragons guy goes, we are not getting a grilled cheese press. We do not have the certification. And then I like got my coffee and moved on. And it was so awesome, man. It was so awesome. The best. And so then, it just cracked me up, and it seemed really, I think this was between season 1 and 2 of Key and Peele. So I pitched that. But at Key and Peele, we're probably pretty lucky in that, like, I could sit down in the writer's room and just tell that story and go, I want to do something about that. Yeah. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you a game yet. And the idea was just those two guys. Like, doesn't that sound funny? Like, those two guys having to live together?
That's insane.
So this was one of these sketches where I wrote it, and the whole thing was like, it wasn't really, and I guess why it never got on the show was there wasn't really like a game. Yeah. It was just them locked. Like, what I thought was funny about it is they're locked in this existential debate. Will there be a grilled cheese press or not? One guy's got one opinion, one other guy's like insists it's not the case. And it's just them arguing back and forth, and a customer would come up and order something, and they'd shout the drink names.
Yeah.
Large, half calf, half decaf caramel latte. I told you, man, there won't be a grilled cheese press. And then he'd be like, large, half calf, half decaf caramel latte. And we lack the certification, I'm telling you. And it was just that. And then, so it's like, it's funny, right?
It's
but like,
funny.
Never, I must have done 8 different drafts of that. And everybody at the show was like, we want to make this idea work. We just couldn't find it.
Yeah, that's one of those, I feel like I've been there before too, where it's like, I believe that this is funny, but it's hard to find a reason, to like put it in a show and really go like, I know that this will work.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
especially a TV show. It's like, well, we got to shoot it. It's got to be good.
It's got to be
we
right.
Can't
like,
spend
it can't
tens of thousands of dollars on this experiment. That would be a good one.
Work.
Like if you're doing a live show,
you
could go perform that and then half improv it and see what you find.
Yeah, and then just whatever. It doesn't matter. Live sketch is weird in that because you're like, even if you're doing the best live sketch show in the world, or probably in LA, maybe 100 people are going to see it. So, and you're going to spend, $40 if you're doing a very expensive version of it. So like the stakes are real low.
Yeah.
I could imagine it'd be tough switching up. Okay, how about assembling an episode of Key and Peele? Like, I don't know if you're in that process, but like, what are you guys trying to put into an episode?
Picking the order and stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not in that process, really. That's the executive producers do that. But, I mean, they'll have, they got, the big wall with all the episodes, and it's got the note cards with the names of the episodes, you know what I'm talking about? I can walk in their office and go, hey, I think this should go with this.
Yeah.
And they'll listen to me, but they're gonna ultimately make that decision. So,
yeah. Okay, fair enough. How about... Are you trying to bring in anything specifically to that? Like, when, for example, we prepare for our sketch show and we're like, okay, well, we want, a couple of normal sketches, a couple of things that are really big, tentpole, crazy stuff, loud stuff. Then we want some short things. Are you like specifically trying to write any type of one thing, or are you just bringing in everything under the sun that's funny to you?
To kind of tie that into your last question about ordering the episodes and the sketches, I would guess what Jordan and Keegan and Ian and Jay do when they pick the order of the sketches is probably not that much different from what you guys do. I mean, probably the same thing. They go, well, Keegan plays a crazy car salesman in this scene, so we'll save the other crazy big character for next week. It's probably fundamentally the same process. And then as far as specifics to write, not really. I mean, we kind of write whatever we want. Maybe we'll get a vague directive from time to time of hey, let's try and do some more peas in a pod sketches where they'll go. We got a lot where it's Jordan's the character and Keegan's the straight man and vice versa. Yeah. So let's do one. Let's write some more where they're two of the same kind of character. Yeah. Maybe stuff like that.
I get that.
Largely, we're just writing whatever we want.
How about getting good at sketch? Let's say you're a young writer and you want to be the best writer in the world. Mm-hmm. What do you think are valuable steps along the way?
I think I figured out what might have been funny about that grilled cheese press sketch really quick. The burden of my existence.
Watch out for it on season 4.
Maybe it's that, and this didn't occur to me at the time, but when you're working at a job you don't want to be at, you're going to find anything to talk about to pass the time. Yeah. Maybe the funny thing is that they're only passionate about the grilled cheese press because there's nothing else. These guys have nothing in common except that they work together. So it might be funny if I was I heard we're getting a grilled cheese press. There's no way we're getting a grilled cheese press. Long silence. We got anything else to talk about? I don't think so. All right, because I heard we're getting that grilled cheese press. Maybe that was it. Anyway, so advice to a young writer.
Sure. Yeah.
How young we talking? 2?
Yeah, we're talking 2.
Dumb joke.
It's. I mean, you're early in that comedy career, and I think because I do think it's the steps are vaguely clear, but there's everybody kind of has their own permutations of how you think you get better at being a funny writer.
Yeah, I think if I think if you're in a city with a UCB or UCB-ish thing, Second City or whatever, available to you, definitely benefit from going and taking the classes there and trying to get in at that theater. So for people in a city like that, you should also do the following. And then also if you're in a city without that, you should just do this, which is just find some funny friends and start putting up shows. Yeah. And I guess, when I came up, you didn't really make videos yet. That wasn't a thing. But now I guess you do that also. Yeah. But you just find some funny people to team up with and just, I think the thing is you got to start doing it. Yeah. You can discuss and write and rewrite, but at some point you got to shoot it or put it on a stage and see what happens.
Yeah. It's funny because not to say this is your advice is invalid in any way, but like 99% of the people who give advice on any of this stuff are like, oh, just do it. You got to get out there and start working.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I think
it's putting in good work and bad work and learning from it ultimately, and getting better. Well, I was gonna say something. No, I don't know. How often do you write?
Well, I mean, if I'm working at Key and Peele every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
If I'm not, when I'm inspired.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just wait for it.
Depends. Just wait for it. Yeah. I don't. I've constantly been like, oh, I want to become one of those people who gets up at 7 every morning and writes for 4 hours, but I'm just not. So I just write when I'm inspired.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there is that. I've heard plenty of the stories of very disciplined people who chug out hours a day. It's like, God, when I write a sketch, I'm like, well, done my work for the week.
That's why we went into improv and sketch.
Right.
We want to take it easy, man.
It's tough too, especially because like I said, I feel like I'm an improviser first, and that sensibility of show up and do it and have fun with it is like so very different than a true writing thing. It's like, I got to work on it, refine it, listen, make it better, keep working at it, and then if it doesn't work, like it's so different. It's not as disposable in a way. And that is stressful.
Yeah. I lost you on that last point.
All right.
What was it?
It's just that
What's stressful?
I think the sensibility of an improviser and a writer is pretty different in that in improvising you show up, you do, you practice or whatever, but it's fun. It's sort of disposable. Whereas sketch writing, it's refining, working, spending time on it. It's alone a lot of the time. It's just like, it's very different.
Yeah, improv, you just got to show up.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything else. So that's pretty nice. Yeah.
All right. How long do you spend on average writing a sketch?
I mean, it depends. At Key and Peele, do you mean we write
like if you're writing out your first draft?
Few hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
3-4 hours.
Damn.
Why is that long or short?
I think it's really long.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll try to.
Well, I'm playing like 8 games of ping pong. And
okay. Yeah.
Walking over to the snack table and trying not to eat Trader Joe's peanut butter cups.
No man, you gotta eat.
Standing there and then going back to my office and then going, fuck it, I'll have some. And going back to the snack table and eating those peanut butter cups and then laying on the floor of my office going, why did I do that, man? Every day I tell myself I'm not going to eat any more peanut butter cups. So that's in there too. I would say 3 or 4 hours.
Fair enough. Okay. Also, okay, the big dog thing you guys did for Funny or Die, you and Eric Appel.
Yeah.
It's not quite a sketch.
I'd call it a short film.
But not quite a short film. Do you have any approach to writing that, or maybe tips or thoughts?
Well, that the big dog came from a one-man show I did.
Oh, that's right.
Back in New York.
Yeah, that Pizza Hut character, I think.
Yeah, Papa John's.
Papa John's, that's it.
Called the show was called "You're Welcome for What You're About to See," and it was a character show.
Yeah.
And one of those characters was this based on a real guy who was my manager at Papa John's. Who's those guys? It's like his life. I mean, his everything was being a manager at Papa John's. And anyway, so a lot of the stuff you see my character do in The Big Dog is from that show. Like the show, the character there's 2 beats of him. And the first one was him trying to convince his underling not to go to college, which happens in The Big Dog.
Yeah.
And then the second beat, I think, was him after he'd been fired, if you remember from The Big Dog, and being like sad he didn't have garlic sauce anymore and stuff like that. So it started off as a monologue I did years ago.
Yeah.
And then me and Eric decided to make it as a short film. And so we just kind of took those monologues and read them and wrote up a script.
Put it together. Okay, cool. When I was watching that just again today, and I think what was really interesting about it, I liked, is there are very, very subtle comedic moments in it, and one of them is like when, especially in your performance that I admired, and there was a part in it where I think he was talking about college or something, and you're just like, probably isn't that big of a deal. And then he like kind of refutes what you're saying, and you look away for just a tiny second, and you kind of back in it like, damn it. Like there's that moment. And so I just wonder, when you're doing that, are you approaching that more technically? Like, have you thought that out or happening before, or does it more happen in the moment for you? I guess that's
so you're talking about
thing.
Yeah, so this is really an acting question.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like
I mean, are you one of those more technical, plan out all the movements and beats and the comedics? Or?
Yeah, it's more like I work them out. Like I've done that on stage a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It's different though because you're a lot smaller when you're performing for the camera.
Yeah.
You know, that would be like kind of a big I know what you're talking about where it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't go to Dartmouth.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do
But
it.
you do want to stay, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just comedic timing. But I don't think, it's not like I would, in the script, write with a pen, look away, beat, look back, or something like that. But just when we rehearse it a couple times before, and I'd kind of figure out those moments.
Where all those little highlights need to go. And fair enough. All right. Police Chief Rumble had Katie Dippold. I don't know. From Dippold.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it very weird from now on because I can't do it right. She's it's on Parks and Rec. You got Kula, who's on Community, or I don't know if that's even still around anymore. Bobby, you, Key and Peele. Seems like a lot of good came out of that. So, like, if you can guess, like, why you four, actually all of you kind of became more successful in
Hiller and McLaughlin too.
Hiller, McLaughlin. Is there somebody else? I feel
there's two more, but they broke good and got married and had kids.
So
I don't think Dave is married or has kids, but
fair enough. But like, yeah, what about that group or like that experience? Can you say like, oh, these are the things that like maybe these are reasons why kind of fell off into doing maybe more successful in your comedy career?
Okay, so are you asking
why are you guys good?
Okay, why are we good?
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I did.
Oh, I should have. I do not regret one bit. No.
I regret going to college.
Yeah, so I went for a quarter, and I regret that quarter, and I'm glad I was smart enough to leave when I did. But anyway, well, I don't know. It was probably that sketch show. You know, we just we're all really psyched to be doing it, and we all worked really hard.
Yeah.
And it just kind of paid off.
Yeah.
I don't have a super magical answer, but
no, I mean, I just wondered if there were like maybe common things between you. I mean, you guys were all in Police Chief Rumble. You got on the Herald team, so you had an interest in comedy before. Yeah, then there was that, at least the attitude of like, oh yeah, we should totally work on a sketch show. Which I mean, it was funny because you guys like it sounded like to me like you're like, oh yeah, we should put in this work, and then you did, and then with a lot of follow up, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, I don't know. It's like it's one of those things like, oh, is everybody just into working very hard, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say we're into working really hard because it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, it never felt like work. I never was like, oh, I wish this wasn't happening right now. Like I have been at jobs I hated. You know? I loved it. It was fun, you know, and I love doing it. I think probably we just all love doing it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a funny story about us is like we all auditioned for Herald teams and all got on Police Chief Rumble, and I think none of us had ever been on a Herald team before. Yeah. And so we would perform at Herald night, which I believe was on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to do a sketch show. So then Wednesday night, it was something like this. I won't say it exactly right, but it was like Tuesday night we do Herald night. And then I think after Herald night, we went in the back and pitched our sketches.
Right.
Wednesday, we brought those sketches in, did the read through. Thursday night, we had Herald practice. Right. Improv. And then Friday night at midnight, we did our show that I described, I think, earlier in this podcast. But at this point, it may have been the other podcast. It was this one, right?
I think it was this one.
Okay. Yeah. Where we do, a half-hour sketches and then improv afterward.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Is the roommate coming out?
I think so.
Be quiet.
Shh. Hey, Claire. How's it going?
How you doing? Who is this weird
Getting real weird. Yeah. So yeah, you guys had an insanely busy schedule. I don't know how that.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like we loved every second of it.
Yeah, you actually wrote on there. I love this comedy shit more than anything in the fucking world.
Did I?
Yeah. I mean,
I was a passionate young man.
Yeah. I mean, do you still feel that way in your comedy? Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Glad to hear it. It seems like a lot of times it doesn't wear off, but I'm always worried because in my happiest moments, I'm like, I don't think this can last.
It hasn't for me.
Good.
I mean, I love doing Key and Peele. I probably wouldn't go do it for free again.
Well, yeah, the money's good.
At a point, right? You got to start making a living. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy working at my job now as much as I enjoyed doing that back then.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We're gonna bring this one to a close too. Do you have any?
Go for
You
it.
can seriously do it. It's totally fine.
Is that a weed jar down there? I called it.
See, I told you. Oh yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do the kind of the similar the pearls of wisdom thing for sketch. Is there any notes or feedback you got in sketch at any point, way back when, now that has a kind of an impact on your writing? Something that you think, oh yeah, this is how I should write sketch.
Wow.
Man, you are not good at remembering notes. It seems
Yeah,
like
pearls of wisdom is
not your
tough,
segment.
tough segment for me.
All right. What about that Christmas tree, huh? Can you believe
Yeah,
that's
is that
still out?
yours or is that your roommate's?
That's also the roommates.
Dude, now you recently moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you living before?
Koreatown.
And now most of the time when I was listening to your podcast, you were in Koreatown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every episode. Yeah. Until now. Oh yeah, guys, this is brand new from my new place in Mid-Wilshire, sort of.
Thank you. Okay, I got it. This isn't particularly a note, but I would say it was extremely helpful.
A piece of advice, I should add. That's
yeah,
also.
yeah,
that's
this
what I mean.
I don't know what this is, but
Okay.
it fits in there somewhere. So back when Police Chief Rumble did that show that we've been talking about,
Yeah.
Owen Burke was the artistic director of UCB New York.
Yeah.
And I think it was his idea that we do this midnight show where we could try out a bunch of sketches and work stuff out. And I think that's so valuable to like go try it, you know, and just to go do it, as opposed to like, well, let's try and get the perfect half-hour sketch show on the page and then hopefully it'll be good, because you're going to find out so much more performing it. So I think, you know, that's the key. And I think that could affect videos too, especially if you're like, you know, like you are. It's like, just start shooting them and see what happens, as opposed to, well, let's do a 45th draft and then we'll get the camera, you know.
Right.
So I don't know if that.
No, that's fair. I
Makes
mean,
sense,
yeah, put it in front of the audience
there
to get
you
the
go.
feedback. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Charlie, this is there anything else you want to say about sketch or anything you want to plug before we end this very special episode of Improv Obsession, Sketch Obsession?
Nope.
All right.
I'm good.
All right. Well, I'm going to say you should watch Key and Peele. It's a very
Oh yes, you should watch.
it's a very good sketch show. One of the better it's the best sketch show on for sure, and one of the better examples of how you should write sketch. So Charlie Sanders, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Woo!
Dude, 2-1.